Hey, it's Nay, and today I'm going to show you how to make a quick and easy, fully loaded deep dish pizza, complete with a Red Lobster Cheddar Bay biscuit crust. Now let me show you the ingredients I'll be using to make this happen. Now the cool thing about this recipe is that you can tailor the ingredients to your dietary needs and preferences, but for our pizza I'm going to be using some baby bella mushrooms, an onion, a green pepper, Jimmy Dean sausage, sharp cheddar and mozzarella, pepperoni, my favorite ragu, tomato, garlic, and onion sauce, and of course the Red Lobster Cheddar Bay biscuit mix. You're also going to need a stick of butter because the Cheddar Bay biscuit mix calls for a stick of butter because you actually get to make the sauce that they put on top of the biscuits at Red Lobster. And last but not least, the star of your show is going to be your Italian seasoning. This is really going to make your pizza taste like pizza. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and dice up your onion and green pepper, and then rinse your mushrooms so that you can start stir frying your vegetables before you add your meat to the pot. Learn this off the Food Network. Okay, so now that that's done, ooh, this onion's strong. Now that that's done, we can go ahead and add this to the pan. Okay, so I'm starting out with a small piece of butter in my pan, and I'm going to heat the pan to medium heat. So for our stove, that's a 5. Gonna wait for that butter to melt, and then I'm gonna add my onions and green peppers. All right, so you wanna coat the bottom of your pan with the butter. Then you're gonna add your onions and green peppers. Then you're gonna stir them around a little bit. And we're gonna let these cook down to about halfway before we add the sausage and the mushrooms. So while I'm waiting on those to cook, I'm gonna go ahead and rinse my mushrooms off. Okay, so now that my onions and green peppers have cooked down, I'm gonna go ahead and add my sausage. And I'm using 2 packs of sausage, but you probably could get away with 1 if you want less meat. I made this recipe before and we ended up having extra sausage and mushroom mixture left over. I'm one of those people, when I cook, I would rather have too much than not enough. Especially because we're making a deep dish pizza. So we want to make sure it's deep dish. All right, so now we're just gonna chop up the meat because we basically want our sausage to be ground up. And what I like to do is go ahead and add the mushrooms at the same time so that while I'm chopping the meat, I can go ahead and chop the mushrooms up too because they are kind of big even though I got the sliced mushrooms. I know it probably looks big and crazy right now, but just wait till it cooks down. The mushrooms will be chopped up and they will be mixed in to the meat and the onions and green peppers. Also, before this cooks down too much, I'm gonna go ahead and add my Italian seasoning. Like I said before, the Italian seasoning is the star of your show, so you wanna be liberal with it because this is where all your flavor is gonna come from. And as the mushrooms begin to cook, they're gonna be easier to chop. So just make sure that as you're chopping up your meat, you target those bigger pieces of mushroom and make sure you break them up. So I'm gonna leave that alone and let that cook for a second. So the main thing I like about this dish is how versatile it is. So for example, the last time I made this, I only used the Jimmy Dean sausage, the mushrooms, and the Italian seasoning for the filling. And then of course I had the cheese and everything else that I'll show you in a second. But I decided to jazz it up this time and add the onions and green peppers. The other thing about this dish is that, you know, if you don't eat meat, you can use tofu or what's that other stuff? Impossible meat. You could swap out the Jimmy Dean sausage for ground turkey. You can also use ground beef with this recipe. So just because I'm making it this way, I'm only showing you a way, but the beauty of this recipe is that you can tailor it to exactly what your preferences are or what you're in the mood to eat that particular night. The important thing is that you have your Italian seasoning. Now you can add other seasonings such as onion powder, garlic powder, black pepper. I don't know, you want some cayenne pepper, you want some spicy pizza, you can add that too. The other option is that Jimmy Dean actually has an Italian flavored sausage, but they didn't have it in the store the first time when I made this recipe. So I decided to just add a bunch of Italian seasoning and it came out really good. Like, I wish you guys could smell this because it smells very fragrant in here. Actually smells like I know what I'm doing. And as you can see in the pot, those mushrooms started to cook down, and I'm still continuing to break down those bigger pieces that I encounter as I'm mixing up the meat. Now, if you're not a mushroom lover like us, I would suggest chopping your mushrooms before you get them in the pot, just to make sure that you have control over the size of the pieces if you do want to add mushrooms. We tend to like mushrooms, so if we run into a piece that's bigger than what it should be, neither of us are really going to be offended. Or you could just elect to take the mushrooms out completely. Like I said before, that is the beauty of this dish, is you can really make it exactly how you want it. Now I'm just checking to make sure that my meat is done. Making sure that there is no more pink left in the pot. And as you see, we got it all ground up. We got our onions and green peppers mixed in, and we got our mushrooms mixed in, and it smells very fragrant and delicious in here. So I'm gonna let that cook for a little bit longer because I'd rather be safe than sorry. So now that our filling is completely done, I'm gonna sit this to the side, and now it's time to start on our Cheddar Bay biscuit mix. Okay, so we are gonna make this Cheddar Bay biscuit mix in accordance with the instructions on the back of the box. So it says, before you begin, preheat your oven to 425. So I have my oven preheating, and then I have my 3/4 cup of cold water, half a cup of sharp cheddar cheese, and my biscuit mix, and a bowl to mix it all up in. Also, it says that you need to line a baking sheet with parchment paper or spray baking sheet with non-stick cooking spray. So I'm just spraying my cooking spray in here, and then I'm wiping it around the sides of the pan to make sure that it's evenly coated. Now I'm gonna combine my ingredients into a bowl. And I'm gonna wash my hands again because this step right here is gonna get pretty messy, and my hands are gonna be all up in this dough. So I'm not trying to eat whatever debris may be on my hands from touching other stuff. And I'm not sure what over mix really means, so I'm just gonna mix this until I feel like it's done, but I also feel like I haven't mixed too much, if that makes sense. All right, so we're just waiting on, oh, there's my oven. Just waiting on this to look like some dough has formed. So I'm gonna mix this until I feel like it's solid, and there's also no more water running in the bottom of the bowl. I feel like this is about the closest thing we're gonna get to dough with this mix. If I'm not mistaken, this is about how it looked last time too. So what I'm gonna do is wash my hands again. And then I'm gonna have Darius pour some oil into my hands, because when I found this recipe online, one of the tricks to keep the dough from sticking to your hands is to make sure that your hands are nice and oiled when you're dealing with the dough. All right, so I'm gonna make sure that my hands are nice and coated. Yeah, this dough is very sticky. Is this how it was last time? Okay. Oh wow, okay. Yep. Gonna move this over to the pan. As you can see, I've oiled my hands and it's still sticky. And basically, all you want to do is pat your dough down evenly so that you have an even layer of crust in your pan for your bomb Cheddar Bay biscuit deep dish pizza you about to have. Now, when I was thinking about making this video, I thought about giving examples of things that you could use this pizza for, like outside of just dinner. So like taking it to an office party or a friend's giving or your next barbecue or something. But seeing how intimate I have to get with this dough, I don't know how I would feel about somebody else necessarily bringing this to an event, because as you see, I'm very particular about cleanliness when it comes to stuff like this. And even though I'm just making it for us, I still don't want to eat whatever may be on my hands. And I know that, well, we all know other people may not be as careful. So I guess that's with anything though. We don't know what they're doing with these biscuits in the back when we go to Red Lobster and eat them. So I guess I can't say that. So basically what I'm doing is just making sure that there are no holes. And I want to make sure that it is level, or as level as it can get. As you see, it's very sticky. All right, I think that might be the best it's gonna get here. Okay, so now the box says bake for 14 to 16 minutes or until golden brown on top. So I'm just gonna pop this in the oven and I'm gonna set a timer for 14 to 16 minutes. All right, so our Cheddar Bay biscuit dough is done. It is nice and soft. Let y'all get a close-up. Okay, so the next step is to make your butter. So your box of Cheddar Bay biscuits actually comes with the herb garlic seasoning in a little packet. And so all you have to do is melt a stick of butter, mix in this seasoning packet, and then you're gonna brush that over your fully cooked Cheddar Bay biscuit crust. And that's gonna make it taste just like Red Lobster. Pour in your garlic herb seasoning. And these packages are childproof. And then you're just gonna stir it around till it's completely mixed into your butter. And then you're going to brush all of the butter onto your biscuit crust. So the recipe calls for 1/4 cup of butter, so I just used a stick. And this stick is going to give us exactly what we need to evenly coat this entire pan. And this is really the secret weapon. Well, another one of the secret weapons in this recipe, because I don't know how, but somehow this biscuit dough soaks up all of this garlic herb butter, but then it's also going to turn around when we add our sauce, it's going to soak up the sauce too without it being soggy. It's crazy. Y'all gonna see. And I'm also making sure to get around the sides too, so that the bottom of the biscuit, you know what I'm saying? Like some of the butter can go down to the bottom and soak into the bottom of the biscuit as well. The bottom and the sides. I'm sorry, not the biscuit, the crust. Heh. Okay, so I still do have a little bit of my butter left, but I don't want to drown my crust in the butter. So looks like I'm gonna have to get rid of the rest of this. All right, so now that all those formalities are over with, we can finally start assembling our pizza. So I'm gonna start with the sauce. Let me shake that up. Now you wanna be careful because like I said, you don't want to drown the crust in sauce, because the biscuit's actually gonna soak up the sauce and take on the flavor of both the garlic herb butter and the sauce, and it's so good. Ooh, I'm getting hype already. And so this particular sauce is chunky, so if you see like chunks of tomato or pepper, that's supposed to be there. Okay, so I'm just gonna make sure I have a layer of sauce. I don't want to drown my pizza in sauce, so this will be good enough for the sauce. After that, we're gonna get our giant spoon and start adding in our sausage and veggie mixture. Now, the Jimmy Dean sausage is very oily, so I would suggest draining off some of the oil, well, draining off all of the oil back into the pot before you put it onto your pizza. You ever notice how people start moving fast right before it's time to eat? I ain't moved fast this entire time. Now I'm flinging meat all over the place. Oh, and also, the oven is still on because once we get this assembled, we're gonna pop it in the oven just to melt the cheese and give everything the opportunity to get all together. And I definitely still have a bunch of the sausage and veggie mixture left over, but I'm gonna put that in a bowl and do something else with it another day. Now for the pepperonis. Now you can be as liberal or as stingy with your pepperonis as you want. Woo! Another thing I was going to put on here was Canadian bacon. So like instead of just rows of pepperoni, I wanted to alternate pepperoni and Canadian bacon, but I couldn't find any. So we'll just be doing pepperoni this time. But like I've been saying this entire time, that's the beauty of this recipe. I can make it this time with pepperoni. Next time I can do all Canadian bacon, or I can do regular bacon. I can go pull out my tofu. I can get my ground turkey. I can get ground chicken. I forgot to mention ground chicken earlier too. And last but not least, I'm adding my sharp cheddar and mozzarella. You can even get creative with the cheese. I could have picked up pepper jack, Colby jack, all them jacks, cracker jack. And so I like to have cheese on every inch of my pizza, which is why I'm using 2 bags. And so what I'm excited about is that all this cheese is gonna just melt together, and it's gonna spread out and cover all these little holes that I'm leaving. All right, and we're gonna pop this in the oven one more time. And we're only gonna keep it in there until the cheese is completely melted. Woo! Now I'm gonna let this sit, let all the ingredients and stuff settle together, and then I'm gonna plate it up and let you see what it looks like.